I'm Naomie Kremer. I'm a painter and video artist. I was never particularly interested in Jewish themes until Alla invited me to participate in the revisions program at the Magnes Museum. My parents were Holocaust survivors. In fact, my father was not technically a Holocaust survivor. He was in Siberia in a labor camp. He was captured by the Russians trying to cross the border. He made a huge distinction between the experience of a Siberian labor camp and my mother's experience in Auschwitz. There were never any photographs of the family because they were all destroyed in the war. My mother never wanted to watch Holocaust programs, but my father was absolutely fascinated by them. He was the 13th of 13 children and the only survivor of the war. In the late 80s, I came across a book called A Vanished World, which is photographs by Roman Wisniak that he took in Poland in the 30s. He took them surreptitiously because nobody wanted to be photographed. It was not, it was against the religion. And when I saw these photographs, I felt like they showed me what my parents' lives must have been like, particularly my father's, because he was born and raised in a Polish Shtetl. And he was born in 1916, so he would have been around 20 when Roman Wisniak took his photographs. I was fascinated by these pictures, especially the details, and also the silhouettes of these figures who looked like ghosts. I had picked up a pad of watercolored blots that was handed out by the artist Adrian Schiess. I think he's a German-Swiss, at the 1990 Venice Biennale. And one day I thought, well, I'm going to draw these figures that fascinate me so much on this watercolor paper. Of course, Adrian Schiess did not know I was using his paper, so he was an unwitting collaborator. When Alla invited me to participate in the revisions program after she saw these Wisniak, these drawings that I made from the Wisniak photos, I decided to re-look at these drawings and see how closely they corresponded to the original photographs. It surprised me how adding those three elements together into one unit, which were these Shtetl prints that I created, really enhanced what they meant to me. Subsequently, I also made an animation of the drawings, which I call Shtetl, and I added a soundtrack that starts with kind of natural sounding, normal footsteps crunching in gravel and builds into the sound of boots marching. And then the second half is more of a dramatization of the feeling, I guess, that they gave me with music by Astor Piazzolla. The installation at the Magnes included this video, a photograph of close-up of my father's hand when he was probably 80, and it just contained for me all the poignancy and memory of his experience. The prints themselves hanging by a thread, reinforcing the fragility of these lives. In 2008, I made a piece about my father's story about a dictionary that his family owned. The story is not technically about the Holocaust, but it really cast light on his early life in the Jewish Shtetl. My son and his future wife asked me to make a ketubah for them, and typically that means painting a frame or decorating a frame around the text of the ketubah, which seemed to me like a very unnatural thing for me to be doing. It's not the kind of thing I would do as an artist. So instead I decided to reproduce the entire text of the ketubah in a painting. I suspect I'll be making other works in this vein. I've always been fascinated by the first chapter of Genesis, and I've written lots of texts about it, but I've never done anything with it. So I suspect one of these days I'll be doing something with that.